Hello, groupies out there. I want to talk about automotive, my experience, what I've lived, what I've been able to acknowledge and literally know, regardless of what marketers have said, automotive, engine techs, for the newer cars as time has gone by. I go back pretty far, you know. I was born in 1956. I had my first car at 14, a 59 GMC pickup with a four-speed on the floor and a long six-cylinder engine. In the automotive, uh, rebuilding engines, I'm not an engine builder because I'm into stock only. If something has, I buy cars randomly, you know. But if something's been souped up or they put a different kind of wheels on it, I don't touch it. Even if they change the stereo inside the car or pickup on the dash, I walk away from it. I like stock. Stock is the best way to go. Okay. But what I want to talk to people about today, you've been lied to and you've been brainwashed by the auto industry. The junk they're selling you, and nothing has been improved. Nothing at all has been accomplished. I have 56 years experience, at least that and more. And I can tell you people something, if you want to listen. Okay. Take me for example. I'm age 69. Right now, if I wanted to, as far as money is concerned, I could go buy a brand new Super Crew cab, Ford truck, and put 80 grand on the table and buy a vehicle like that. But I'm not because I'd be making a fool out of myself. Let's say right now I had no vehicle at all, that some catastrophe occurred, and I had no vehicle at all. What would I do? Right now, the first thing I'd do, okay, as a master mechanic, here's what I would do. I would look for me a 1992 up to a 2002 Dodge Ram 1500 pickup. And it could be, being I'm single, it could be a single cab, extended cab. Either one would be fine with the 318 or the 360 V8. Those had a central cam, push rods, great engines, and one coil. They came with individual port fuel injection, a fuel injector per cylinder. Okay. That is more dependable and will last longer than anything on earth, roughly. But most people they don't know that. I would buy something like that, even if it had rust on the outside. I would buy that. If I could find someone that had something like that for about $500, there you go. I would never pay car payments. That's what I would buy based on my experience and what I know about them. Also, a 98, or I mean a 92 to 2002, those are, well, the 2002 still likes a year before it is emissions exempt. Um, all the others before that, they're emissions exempt. Now you just buy the registration every year. And that's it. You don't have to worry about any emissions at all. And they stopped the state inspections. Nowadays you don't even have to have brake lights on the car. You should, but they don't check for headlights, check the tires or exhaust leaks. They don't check any of that now, and that would save people a lot of money. Because so what if a person had an exhaust leak? So I wouldn't care. That's not going to make any difference because, as far as carbon monoxide, I don't drive any vehicle with the windows all rolled up. I know better than that, and nobody else should either. You're only destroying your brain when you roll the windows up in all cars, because no matter what type of car it is or how new it is, you're getting carbon monoxide. It slowly destroys the brain. Small doses of carbon monoxide slowly destroy your brain. It makes you start losing your memory gradually and moves its way up. Most people can't even remember when they were in middle school. There. They can't even remember that. I remember before I started kindergarten, way back in 1960 or so, when I was 4 years old. I can remember that. Because I remember kindergarten at 5 years old, and I know I can remember 2 years before that at least, or actually further back, but and it does matter, because you're going to have more knowledge and you will have lived it. Because you figure my awareness, back then, what I lived, the same as adults, to be able to see things and be part of things, the different kind of food and stuff like that. But about engine, they've made complete fools out of you people, and everything has been for nothing since I would say the last year of the 1980s, which is 89. All they've done is just make fools out of you people. Because here's something I can tell you. I still have my 89 Cadillac Brougham that I purchased brand new in the fall of 1988. All right. That car, um, and I have a 2002 Super Crew cab Ford F-150 truck, a 2005 Lincoln Town Car, and a 98 Dodge Ram extended cab. Okay, now here's something I can tell you Pete, right now. The 89 Cadillac Brougham that weighs 4,500 pounds, and it's got rear wheel drive and all that. It's got the 307 Oldsmobile V8 that it came with originally. That car gets better gas mileage than all of them. And guess what? It has no hesitation whatsoever. It has one coil and one four-barrel quadrajet carburetor, and it gets better gas mileage. And here's the shocking part. It has no hesitation and it has more takeoff power than any of the other vehicles I just mentioned. The second best vehicle I own is my 98 Dodge Ram extended cab. It has one engine column. The cam is in the center of the engine. It's a push rod engine. Hallelujah. It's all cast iron except for the intake manifold. Okay, now it's got injectors for cylinder, eight injectors, but it's only got one coil. All right. And it's very responsive. It's extremely dependable. Okay, now the Ford truck with a 4.6, yeah, it's good, but and there's no hesitation, or there might be a little hesitation when you punch the accelerator. But it's a little underpowered, doesn't have as much power as the Cadillac or the Dodge Ram pickup extended cab. Same thing for the '05 Lincoln Town Car. It also has the 4.6 modular V8, just like the Ford truck. Okay, those 4.6 modular V8s, everything about them is bullshit. It's just absolute bullshit. They don't need overhead cams. They don't need timing chains. They don't need those tensioners because they don't produce anything extra. There's no gain. There's no gain. Here's what you gain. You gain more trouble and you gain more spending money for things that fucking go wrong. That's what you have, you know, and the same thing applies to any other cars. For my Ford trucks is and my Lincoln, as far as the what would be the better, most recent engine that I could have in those vehicles, if they were still using them. When something's good, they quit using it. The 4.2 all cast iron Ford V6 engine and the Lincoln and the Ford Super Crew. Because they were better engines. You didn't have all the BS trouble with them people. And they only had one engine coil. There you go, a central located cam. And you're using cast iron instead of aluminum, you know? Now, the Ford truck and the Lincoln 4.6, they both have a cast iron wall. And they are the Romeo version V8. And the Windsor version, it also, most all of them have a cast iron block also, with the exception of some. But still, it's overkill. It's overkill. If they would have just put a central one cam in that end, one standard timing chain, like my Cadillac and Dodge Ram used, okay? If they would have done that, those engines would have performed just as well or better. And those injectors are not necessary because let me tell you all something. There's no injectors in my 89 Cadillac. Why does it outperform my Ford truck and my Lincoln? Why is that? Why is that, dude? But it does. And it gets better gas mileage too. And again, it's got one car. And see that 4 barrel carburetor, unless you punch the accelerator to the floor, it's running off the two front barrels is all it's running off of. Now here's something else I can do. That experience that I had having cars that were made in the 50s as a teenager and some cars made in the 1960s. Again, nothing has improved people at all. They've made absolute fools of themselves and you voters. They've made complete asses out of it. All they've done is cause you to have to waste a lot of money, get less dependability, and have more trouble. Is all they've done. Because here's something else. I can give you different references. Like it was in 1994 through to the end of 1995. I would rent Hertz rental cars because I was driving cross country into different places to check oil tanks, for the basic sediment and waste and the filler nets, that the air, it could breathe and, the moisture that was in those tanks when I worked for Hydro. Okay, what I would do when I go up there, they would have to give me like a town car or a Mark 7. I love the Mark 7. I love the design. The automatic was on the floor. Those were both V8 cars. They both had the 302 V8 cast iron engine. They were not port fuel injection. They had a throttle body in the center of the intake with two injectors in it, and the old style air cleaner sitting on that. And to open the hood and look at one, it's like, oh, just like a 1965 Ford 289. You know, distributor was still in front, one coil. Okay, now here's something I remember. Those Mark 7, speaking of them, they had enormous power. Those cars had so much power. A person, if they would have been a rich fool, They could have sit in a parking lot and spun those back wheels until there was no rubber left. That's how much power those engines had. Explain that. And there was no port fuel injection on those cars. How do you explain that? There was only one coil. How do you explain that? It didn't have overhead cam. How do you explain that? The people, they are bullshitted, think engines last longer these days. No, they don't. No, they do not. It depends on where you've been and what you own. Because I remember, now this is just speaking of one motor company. I can't mention them all, or this video would have to be live and be a 24-hour video. But okay, let me give you an example of the 1980 to 1989 Lincoln Town Hall. They all came with the 302, 5 liter V8, cast iron block, cast iron heads, aluminum intake manifold, and they only had two injectors that powered that engine with the intake manifold. Those cars outlasted the bodies. They outlasted the body. They were better than your modular V8s and all this junk they're making today. All this damn junk. Trouble starting in 1990 in the automotive industry. Junk with unnecessary things on engines that were not necessary. But, it's just, you're making fools out of yourself, wasting all this damn money. Why do people keep doing that crap, man? You should invest your money. The power of money is to have the money, not to spend the money. Because, see, if you spend the money, the jokers that are getting the money when you buy an 80 grand double cab Ford pickup, you're spending like 80 grand for that crap you call a vehicle. You know, they don't want the truck. They're giving you the truck. They want the money, right? Well, all right, there's your proof right there. And they are the elite wealthy. They want the money, not the junk. There you go. But, if I didn't have any car at all today, there you go. But I would buy, that's just an example. An 80 to 89 Lincoln would be a good car. I'd get one of those for about $1,000, or a 92 to 2002 Dodge Ram with the 318 or 360 for no more than $1,000, about that. Because then I'd know any money I put into it, I would get back from its usage. I would know that. And I wouldn't have all the bullshit brought. See, this is experience. This is reality, man. And how are you saving money if you buy a Nissan or a Toyota? Because you're overspending. You're wasting too much money. How is that beneficial? I'm not understanding. And then if you need a part, it's just going to cost a bunch more money. Why not be an American? Americans don't drive little bitty cars, or they didn't in my generation. We wanted larger stuff. We aren't Japanese people. I know a lot of them. They're loving people. I know Chinese people. I know Vietnamese people. But we are not them, y'all. We are not them. We are Americans, right? You know, I want something that's larger. And even though my 89 Brum Cadillac, it's a long, heavy car, 4,500 pounds, uh, I was easily able to afford that car during all those years. And it's still a very affordable car to own even today. And it's still around. Why aren't Nissans and Toyotas from the same year range? People have wasted a bunch of money and gone away from that. I mean, I don't see how it's been beneficial when I was able to enjoy more comfort and style and safety than they were and maintain for less money, you know. But anyway, these are just some things you people need to think about. You know, you can turn the clock back. You can turn the clock back, and I'll tell you how. Boycott people, quit buying that shit, stop doing it. Because these older vehicles, they still are available. They still are available. Why not buy a Chevy pickup made in the 80s or one made in the 70s, you know? See, that's the stuff that's better. The bigger stuff is actually better, but at an earlier date, like a 70 to 80 Chevy pickup, an 80 to an 89 Chevy pickup. There you go. There's your answer right there. Or any of those, 70 to 80 or 80 to 90 in a Ford pickup. That's a great choice. Hmm. Or your Lincolns, 80 to 89. There you go. That's an excellent choice. Or any of the Cadillacs from 80 to 89. For some of the Cadillacs up to 1992, they were using the Chevrolet 350 V8 in those, and you still had a cast iron block and cast iron engine heads. Those were good. You know, you got to know what the good stuff is. You know, people think that things have improved, gotten better. No, they haven't. They've gotten worse because, you know, I just explained to you how that my modular V8s in my Ford truck and my Lincoln are under par compared to my one coil V8 engine in my 89 Cadillac and my 98 Dodge Ram. You see, there you go. So all those engines ever needed was one coil. All they ever needed was two injectors. That's it. You're not getting any more performance after that because see anything else, you can only put so much compression into a cylinder. And two barrels or two injectors is going to give you everything that engine can handle, unless you want it to have a shorter life. What are you accomplishing? There you go. But you know, fuel injection itself is not benefited at all. At all. It hasn't benefited people. And the things you've been led to believe are not true. And you need to look back through my list of the right kind of oil to use in the engine for the type car you have. You people don't listen. You've been brainwashed by marketers. Most all of you, you're using the wrong kind of oil. But anyway, later.